Local breaking news, a serial killer is headed to death row.
Anthony Garcia killed 4 people in the span of 5 years, terrorizing many. Brian Mastery spent time in court and continues our coverage. Brian?
John Lauren, for a case that's been full of drama for the last 5 years, attorneys removed from the case, a defendant who won't talk to his defense or even his own family, to today where a judge had to leave in the middle of sentencing because of excruciating back pain. In the end, this is really all that mattered to the families. Justice, it's 17-page, the order read in court today where Anthony Garcia is sentenced to death. It's been more than 10 years since the brutal stabbings in this Dundee home. Shirley Sherman, a family friend, was cleaning the Hunter house. That May afternoon, 11-year-old Thomas Hunter went straight to the basement after school to eat snacks and play video games.
Thomas was a wonderful, lively child, and he didn't deserve what happened to him by any means. So we're grateful. I don't know if there's ever justice or the right way to do it, but he should be remembered as a talented, playful, young man.
At a sentencing, victims often explain the impact a crime has had on them. And even though serial killer Anthony Garcia appeared to be either sleeping or faking it at the defense table, families of the victims explained to the court what his crimes did to them.
I buried my sister on my birthday 10.5 years ago. When I go to her grave for the last 10.5 years, I basically had to say nothing has been done. I'm hoping that the court will restore a little faith in the system, and that when I go back and visit her again, I can tell her that justice has been done.
The 2008 Dundee murders became a cold case. It wasn't until Mother's Day 2013 when Roger and Mary Brumbach were killed at their home near 114th and Shirley. Detectives had a connection and a motive. Garcia had been fired from the Creighton Pathology Department by Brumbach and Thomas Hunter's father in 2001. He blamed them for his failure as a medical doctor and in life.
Mr. Garcia doesn't deserve my forgiveness. Doesn't deserve nothing from my family or anybody. All the innocent victims that were taken. For what? For a job? Who does that?
For the last 5 years, Anthony Garcia has been held in an individual cell at the Douglas County Jail. We now have his new inmate photo for death row. It's right here that was taken. He has already been transferred, John and Lauren, to Tecumseh, and he will be there with 12 others. Reporting live, Brian Mastery, 6 News.
Brian, and 6 News caught up with Anthony Garcia's family after today's ruling. Garcia's parents, Fred and Estelle, and his brother Fernando were all inside the courtroom for the sentencing. The family says they prepared themselves for the death sentence ruling. Fred Garcia told 6 News his son is a good kid and he's shocked by the entire situation. Fernando Garcia shared condolences with the victims' families.
It's hard for us because it's hard for us to imagine my brother doing something like that. But you know, we just want the victims' families to know that we do pray for them and we feel their pain and you know, we're sorry that those things took place. So.
The family says he must suffer from mental illness to commit these murders. They say they haven't spoken to Garcia in a couple of years.
And there are now 12 people on Nebraska's death row. The list includes Nico Jenkins, who's convicted of 4 Omaha area murders, Roy Ellis, who was convicted of sexually assaulting and killing 12-year-old Amber Harris, and 3 men convicted in the Norfolk botched bank robbery that left 5 people dead. It's unclear when any of them may be executed. Bailey Boswell could become the first woman on Nebraska's death row if she's convicted of first-degree murder in the death of Sidney Loof. The state of Nebraska says it will seek the death penalty for Boswell and Aubrey Trail, who's the man who admitted to strangling Loof.
There was a scary sight in the courtroom. Judge Gary Randall had to excuse himself in the middle of the proceedings. He said he was in pain, and that led to about a half-hour delay while the other judges discussed what to do next. When court reconvened, we learned Judge Randall had recently undergone some sort of procedure. We're told tonight he's doing great, but is still experiencing back pain. An Omaha man will spend the next couple of decades in prison for holding several people at gunpoint and beating some of them inside an apartment in Council Bluffs.
Yeah, he had been charged with kidnapping, assault, and other crimes. Derek West Jones has been sentenced to 20 years in prison for those crimes. Police say back in June, Wes Jones pulled a gun after a disturbance in the apartment and wouldn't let anyone leave. He also pistol whipped and beat some of the captives with a wrench, holding them for about 2 hours. 2 people were taken to a hospital. A Council Bluffs woman charged in the case has pleaded not guilty to kidnapping and other crimes. Joanna Moulton is scheduled to go on trial October 9th. All right, Rusty, I'm starting to feel that warm up you were talking about.
Yeah, it made it up into 92 degrees today with all the sunshine out there. We have several more days like this on the way. Satellite and radar quiet, clear skies out there right now. Looking good for high school football, but a little warmer than we'd like it. We're getting close to kick. We still have upper 80s, close to 90 in many spots, and the feels like temperatures in the low 90s. So warmth and humidity not great when you're wearing all the pads and everything as you're getting ready to play. But for the fans, it'll gradually get a little cooler this evening. If you haven't left for the games already, we're about 85 degrees at 7 o'clock with sunshine around and falling off to 77 by 10. A pretty quiet night on the way, down to 71 to start off the day tomorrow. So a pretty warm morning, and it'll be similar to that if you're tailgating in Lincoln early in the morning. We'll take a look at that Husker game day forecast that, well, includes even more warmth for the weekend coming up here in a bit.
All right, thanks, Rusty. In other weather headlines, Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds has received notification that her request has been denied for federal disaster assistance for homeowners, renters, and businesses impacted by the July tornadoes in central Iowa, including Marshalltown. Reynolds made the request to FEMA last month. In its denial letter, FEMA says it had determined the impact to individuals and households from the storm was not severe enough to warrant a designation of individual assistance.
Florence has been downgraded to a tropical storm. It has still proven to be deadly. This morning, the Wilmington Police Department in North Carolina reported the first 2 deaths caused by the storm, a mother and an infant. Police say the 2 died after a tree fell on their home. And since then, 3 other deaths have been linked to the storm in North Carolina. Forecasters say Florence will continue to threaten North and South Carolina with powerful winds and catastrophic freshwater flooding.
Omaha police need your help identifying the whereabouts of a woman who was caught shoplifting. This is Tiffany Mack. OPD says despite having a felony warrant out for her shoplifting, she's still stealing from Omaha area stores. Officers say she isn't alone and they want to know of any other suspects who are helping her as well. We actually spoke with Mack on Black Friday back in 2011. She told us, quote, "I was trying to get a TV. I wanted the 42-inch, but there was people cutting and stuff. I was getting mad and stuff and was getting ready to fight some people, you know." Miley Ichta is on her way to prison for the role she played in the murder of Billy Walker. Prosecutors say last summer, Miley Ichta and her estranged husband Adrian tried to sell Walker fake drugs. Walker didn't take the deal, so he was killed for money.
And Miley was in court today facing sentencing for accessory charges. John Chapman has more.
The victim's family hopes today's sentencing brings them some closure. Once again, Susan Walker and her family are in a courtroom, looking at another person who played a role in the murder of her son, Billy. Malia Ixta is charged with being an accessory in Walker's death.
I'd just like to say to the family that I'm really sorry for their loss.
But Susan Walker addressed the court and told the judge exactly what was taken away from her when her son was killed.
When I found out that he was killed, it's like my world just fell apart.
The defense attorney asked for probation. Prosecutors say with Ixta's criminal record, probation was not appropriate.
Ms. Ixta does have somewhat of a felony record, a couple felonies in 2015 in Douglas County, one in Sarpy County, and then another felony theft in 2016 in Douglas County.
Judge Marlon Polk gave Ixta 3 to 6 years in prison for her role in the death of Billy Walker, a sentence Susan Walker was not happy with.
I know deep down in my heart, I think she knew that was going to happen to my son.
But with Malia Ixta on her way to prison and her estranged husband already there, maybe this will end this chapter in Susan Walker's life. Maybe now there will be closure.
Yes. Now you can rest in peace. Maybe we can rest a little bit too.
With photographer Mike Plews, John Chapman, 6 News.
Ixta's 3 to 6 year sentence means that she'll be eligible for parole in 1.5 years with a mandatory discharge in 3. And she will also have to stand trial on 2 felony theft charges.
The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission has accused Werner Enterprises of violating the Americans with Disabilities Act for not hiring a driver because he's deaf. A lawsuit from the commission alleges Werner refused to hire Andrew DeSchul multiple times. DeSchul was born deaf but received an exemption from the federal hearing requirement for commercial motor vehicle drivers. A Werner attorney says the company wasn't discriminatory and based the decision on a legitimate occupational qualification. He says DeSchul was a health and safety threat. Werner is seeking the lawsuit's dismissal. Well, it's week 4 of Friday Night Fever.
And the 6 sports team at Buell Stadium, and now in the heat of the high school football action, we'll hear from them next.
And the current Secretary of State speaks out about a former one as new allegations surface.
A massive tire fire fills Chicago's sky with thick black smoke. How they're handling this blaze ahead.
Now, sports with Ross Sternstrom.
Hi, everyone. We are live from Buell Stadium for week 4 of Friday Night Fever, and what a matchup we have tonight between 4th-ranked Millard South and 5th-ranked Millard West. The Patriots come into this game undefeated. Millard South is led by quarterback T.J. Urban. Last week, he ran for 195 yards and scored 3 touchdowns in the 35-10 win over Millard North. Millard South also has a top running back in Isaiah Harris, who is the 5th-ranked rusher in the state with 157 yards a game. Millard West needs to slow down Urban and Harris to win the game tonight. Here's a look at some of the matchups tonight on Friday Night Fever. Lots of top 10 matchups. Top-ranked Omaha Burke travels to Omaha North. 3rd-ranked Burke travels to Omaha North. 3rd-ranked York plays at top-ranked Omaha Scott. 2 undefeated teams, Bellevue West and Elkhorn South, meet at 7, and Gretna plays at undefeated Westside. See it all tonight at 10:15. Well, Troy comes to Lincoln tomorrow looking for an upset. Last year, the Trojans went to Baton Rouge and upset LSU on their home field. The strength of the Trojans is their running game. They average 208 yards a game, and they also average 39 points a game. The player to watch is running back Jabir Dotre-Fry, who has rushed for 108 yards in 2 games and is averaging 8 yards a carry. Troy head coach Neil Brown is impressed with Nebraska's 2 quarterbacks, Adrian Martinez and Andrew Bunch.
Martinez was dynamic. I think the backup kid is, I'm not sure who's going to play. We'll follow that. We'll get ready for both. Martinez is a dynamic runner for a true freshman. I thought what he did last week was special. The backup, you're not the backup quarterback at Nebraska unless you can play. So I'm sure that if the backup has to play, he'll perform at a high level. So we've got to continue to get better. We play a great opponent, but we've got to continue to get better. I think that we have not come close to playing at our ceiling yet. So look forward to this week and going out there and playing.
Troy and Nebraska will kick off at 11 o'clock tomorrow. The game will be televised on the Big Ten Network, and we'll have post-game coverage starting at 5 o'clock. Again, we got a dandy out here at Buell Stadium, Millard South, Millard West. It's for bragging rights in the Millard Public Schools, and let me tell you, there's a huge crowd, expected to be about 8,000 for this game. I barely got in here. The traffic was so heavy, but we'll have all the highlights tonight on Friday Night Fever. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Ross. That sets the stage. Well, Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh vehemently denies accusations of sexual misconduct from back when he was in high school.
2 sources said the allegation was the subject of a letter Senator Dianne Feinstein sent to the FBI yesterday. According to one source, the accusation relates to a sexual encounter that occurred when Kavanaugh was about 17. The letter did not result in a criminal investigation into Kavanaugh. Senate Republicans released a letter from dozens of women who knew Kavanaugh from high school, saying he, quote, behaved honorably and treated women with respect.
Today, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo slammed former Secretary of State John Kerry for meeting with Iranian officials after leaving office. Kerry said in a recent interview he has met with Iran's foreign minister 3 or 4 times since leaving office. He said they discussed the nuclear agreement, which President Trump pulled out of. Yesterday, Trump tweeted that those meetings were illegal. Pompeo said he would leave legal determinations to others, but still had strong words for Kerry.
It's inconsistent with what the foreign policy of the United States is, as directed by this president, and it is beyond inappropriate.
Kerry's spokesperson fired back in a sharply worded statement Friday, calling Pompeo's words political theatrics.
Today's weather brought to you locally by Iman Plumbing, Heating and Air.
Call Iman anytime for emergency AC repair or a new system. That's trustiman.com.
Trust the big red truck, Iman Plumbing, Heating and Air.
Shaping up to be a beautiful, albeit warm night for high school football games around the area. We're sitting at 90 degrees right now after topping out at 92. You can see both the low and the high temperature were well above where they should be and a little bit shy of some records. You can see satellite radar, clear skies right now, so no threat of rain for any high school football games this evening. Satellite and radar are going to stay very, very quiet, and you'll be hard-pressed to find any clouds either. Like I mentioned, we're near 90 in Omaha, 86 in Plattsmouth, 85 in Nebraska City, and by 7 o'clock, everybody should be down in the 80s and then slowly cooling off from there, but still feels like numbers low, mid-90s in many spots, and winds out of the south-southeast still 5 to 15 miles per hour, but with the setting sun, these will continue to back off, so the air won't be stirred up quite as much. Upper 80s still at 7 o'clock. We'll still be in the 80s by 8, and hour by hour through the forecast. Light southeast breeze. We fall off into the upper 70s by 10. Overnight tonight, just slowly falling off through the 70s. We'll actually wake up tomorrow morning. If you're getting up early, maybe 4 or 5 o'clock to get down there, get the good tailgating spots, and get rolling early down in Lincoln. We're near 70 degrees to start off the day tomorrow in many spots. Degree or two either side of 70. Mid-70s by 9. Then by noon, notice, remember that's 11 o'clock kick, so I think we'll be close to 80 degrees by kickoff and warming up rapidly after that. Should be mid, maybe upper 80s by noon. I think that's a little too early, but by 3 o'clock, some fair weather clouds develop and hopefully give us a little bit of shade and try to cut into any more warming after that. But by the end of the game, I think upper 80s, a little bit of a south wind, 10 to 15 miles per hour. It's going to be warm. It's going to be muggy down there in Lincoln. Anything in the 80s makes that stadium pretty uncomfortable. 90,000 plus crammed in there and the sun beating down on the concrete and the field. Everything heats up pretty quickly with 80s. And then by 5 o'clock, still near 90 degrees, slowly cooling off with these scattered clouds that will fade with the setting sun. And then we'll keep a close eye on, maybe we can cool down next week. Watch the clock here. Friday, today, into the weekend, keeps the warmer colors in our area. The cooler blues and the greens off to the north. Was hoping maybe Tuesday we could get a little shot of some cooler air in here. The closer we get, the more it looks like that's primarily going to stay north of our area. We'll try to bring some rain chances in, but it's not until we get into Thursday and Friday when some cooler air dives in from the north and brings us some more fall-like temperatures, and we'll line up with next weekend when fall rolls in. 90 for the high tomorrow, though. 88 Sunday, 91 on Monday. The threat for any rain rolls in Tuesday and Wednesday, mainly north of I-80. Morning and afternoon showers and storms on Thursday. We go from 85 Thursday to a high of 68. Playing football next weekend, we actually feel a little chilly by the end of those games. Download our app, follow with the forecast. You can find all the information you need right there, and keep an eye on temperatures over the weekend.
Looking forward to those nice warm temperatures this weekend.
Not too bad.
Not too shabby. All right, thanks, Rusty. After the break, Florence's hurricane. Force winds did a number on gas stations overnight.
And we'll look at the destructive power like this next.
Closed captioning brought to you by Oriental Rug Palace, your home for fine rugs and furnishings.
Crews raced to this huge blaze in Chicago's south side to battle a pile of burning tires. This is an aerial view showing plumes of thick black smoke, and according to Chicago Fire, a 40-foot pile of shredded rubber was set on fire in an industrial area. Firefighters and a level 1 hazmat team worked to contain the massive fire. No injuries, though, were reported.
Gas station awnings on the East Coast took a real beating from hurricane-force winds.
Yeah, video caught a BP canopy collapse under the strength of the storm in Topsail Beach, North Carolina. First, the lights went out, and then the whole thing just started smashing to the ground. The wind even dragged this one into the street. Those winds are no joke whenever they're doing something like that.
And Florence knocked over another awning in Wilmington and also in North Carolina. And one of them came to rest on its side.
And there's a furry new face at the Milwaukee County Zoo. They officially announced the arrival of a newborn red panda. The adorable female cub was just 6 ounces at birth and now weighs about 5 pounds. It's a cause for celebration because red pandas are an endangered species. The panda is currently unnamed and has yet to make a public debut, but her birth announcement arrived just in time for International Red Panda Day. How cute! I would love to take her home.
Aww.
What a little cutie.
Very curious.
Yeah. Remember, those grow into big pandas. So.
That's true. Thanks for that reminder.
Let's take a look at what's going on tomorrow. Near 70 degrees to start off the day. Warming up quickly. Game time near 80 degrees in Lincoln. 86 by noon. We'll be at about 89 by 3 o'clock and up to 90 for the high with some scattered clouds around during the afternoon. Not much of a breeze either, so it's warm and humid this weekend. We should be in the upper 70s this time of year, looking at highs near 90 degrees tomorrow and through the weekend.
All right. You probably have some stuffed animals at home too, don't you?
I've got a real animal, little Louie.
Oh, nice name.
That's 6 News Live at 6:30.
And we'll be on Facebook, Twitter, WWT.com. NBC Primetime is next.
See you at 10.
WOWT 6 News is everywhere.